and I would really appreciate it if you would stop Rob Taylor from blathering on and on.
Opinions expressed by talk show hosts, callers, or guests on the Rob Taylor Report do not necessarily represent the opinions of the hosting platform, subsidiaries, sponsors, or possibly anyone else on the planet or the known universe. From the tinfoil and lead-lined broadcast bunker on the beautiful southern coast of Oregon, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your weekly political therapy session is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
Hey, Cruz County. Hello, Oregon. Hello, America, and happy Memorial Day. It is Memorial Day. I probably shouldn't even be doing this show. I thought about it and thought, am I being disrespectful to family, friends, and others out there who've served in the military by doing today's show? And I thought, I don't know, because years ago, when I was on the radio, I always did the show on Mondays, and I thought, am I being disrespectful? I don't know. But one time, an elderly gentleman who served in the military told me, no, I like the show. And so I want to do that on Memorial Day or Veterans Day or whichever day it was that I ran into this person. So I hope I'm not being disrespectful, because I think this is very important that we remember those who served. We should always remember, never forget. And there's reasons for that, because we never want to have to put people through this again. I mean, my goal would be in the world, if I could, never to have another military conflict. I mean, it's you might as well be asking to stop the rotation of the earth, because at some point this country will be in another military action, and young men, young women will be sacrificing maybe the ultimate sacrifice, their life, fighting for our freedoms, for our country. And as someone who had, you can go back in my family, and probably many of your families as well. You can go back all the way to when this country wasn't even a country, and our relatives fought. They shed blood, they sacrificed for this country. And so we must always remember, we should never forget. And I almost wanted to, there was no Memorial Day parade anywhere in this damn county, but I nearly did it live. I was going to do a live on location thing. I was going to walk down to where the flags are at the cemetery at the end of the road, and then walk on down into downtown Bandon and see if I can catch some people and see what they're doing on Memorial Day. But it's pretty damn windy out there. My microphones just suck in the wind. So happy Memorial Day. I don't know, is that even an expression? Happy Memorial Day. Always remember, never forget Memorial Day. And that's my spiel for today's special day. And we will continue that for every holiday. I plan on coming on most holidays. It's something I did at the radio station. I had a producer who, well, for lack of intents and purposes, he just didn't have a family really to celebrate holidays with. And so he was always willing to work on any day. And in fact, the year that I got canceled off the radio, that year I would have been on Christmas Day, and we would have done it. I don't care. I think people, they need the news every day, every single day. And I think it's important. One of the things, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to this, but this guy right here, that's, you all know him. George Floyd. And he was a very bad dude. And for the rest of my life, I'm going to make sure people know that this guy right here was a criminal. He threatened to shoot a pregnant woman. He threatened to shoot the baby of a pregnant woman. And because unfortunately, this miscreant came across a cop who, well, wasn't very well trained and just didn't handle the situation properly. Thanks to and now that's Derek Chauvin. I got him in the next picture. He didn't handle the situation too well, and because of this situation right here, as you can see, there's Derek Chauvin, and this right there, the picture, that look on his face, that's that asshole cop look. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of good cops out there. There's a lot of really good cops out there, but there's a lot of dipshit cops because they're just people in every profession where you have dipshits. And this Derek Chauvin was a real dipshit, and he did something very stupid. This is what he did, and I don't think. And the toxicology report will prove it. The autopsy will prove it that this guy right here, George Floyd, that is on the ground, he didn't die because Derek Chauvin had his knee on his neck. In fact, if you see other views of this, you can see that he wasn't putting pressure on him. But he was there for quite a while. I forget how many minutes he was there. And as soon as George Floyd said he couldn't breathe, which was a lie, we all know it was a lie. You can see that on Cops Today. You watch any cop show, you watch any show where cops are apprehending people. The first thing they do now is, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Well, if you can talk, you can breathe, lady. They're breathing, heavily breathing. You can hear them breathing, and they're saying, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can hear you breathing. I mean, come on, get over it. It's over dramatization. And that's what George Floyd was doing that day. He wanted to get out of the arrest. So he was yelling and screaming, pretending like he couldn't breathe, and he could breathe. He was just having an OD. He was just overdosing. And at a certain point, he was going to die anyway. Unfortunately, before he did die, he came across this officer. George Floyd committed a crime, and that officer on that day made the mistake of, well, keeping his knee on this guy's neck for just a little too long. And like I said, I don't think Derek Chauvin should be in jail for 22 years, maybe 5. Maybe after the president is done with his presidency, he can pardon Derek Chauvin, but I don't know. It just ticks me off that we went through 2 years of hell for George Floyd, who is a criminal, who, like I said, if the best thing you can do in life is to continuously repeat the truth that George Floyd was a criminal, that he did horrible things, and that people put him on a pedestal and never should have. They never should have done the mostly peaceful protest that turned into riots, looting, murders, all the things that went on during 2020 and 2021, all those things with Antifa, Black Lives Matter. They used George Floyd's death as an excuse to commit crimes against society. That's plain and simple. And George Floyd should never ever have been someone who should have been venerated and put on this pedestal. And so make sure and tell everyone, especially young people, let them know George Floyd was a criminal, and the people who were out protesting were doing it under well, they were just wrong. They were completely wrong as to why they were out there. They were protesting systemic racism. They were protesting for equity and diversity and inclusion, which is, this country is all about diversity, equity, and inclusion. You don't have to make it a policy. It already exists in this country. So a bunch of misguided people who, absolutely fell to the ploy of the leftists who were trying to destroy our government, still trying to destroy our government to this day. Samantha Frost says it turns out that his knee between the criminal's shoulders, like police were trained to do. And that's the way I understood it too, is that he actually had his knee right where he should have had his knee. And in another angle, you can see that it's not on his neck. I was trying to find that before the show and I couldn't find that. It doesn't really matter. The perception is the truth in the court of public opinion. And when you see the entire video, and I remember watching the entire video, it comes across and it looks like you get the perception that Derek Chauvin is putting his knee on George Floyd's neck for a very long period of time. And if he would have just released George Floyd, let him roll over on his back, because he was already in handcuffs. And I understand George Floyd was a big guy. We're talking a huge guy. This guy's like 6'4", 6'6", something like that. He was a big guy. And so I can understand why Chauvin was a little worried, but he had him handcuffed. He should have let him roll over on his back, and that would have taken care of that. Gary says absolutely 100%. Yeah. There is just no doubt that the people who were rioting were completely hoodwinked into doing what they did. It was completely ridiculous. Richard Burke made a comment at 12:41 before the show was even on. And he says, the reason I'm going to talk about this comment is because I'm getting ready to talk about this. He said, I saw voter turnout. He says that I saw voter turnout rates mostly running from 19 to 29%. That is horrible. Just slightly higher turnout rates among limited government supporters and organizations would turn many losses into wins. And so what he's trying to say is that we had a low turnout, and if we just got a few more Republicans to show up to the ballot box, to the polling place, that we would have had a much better success rate. And he's absolutely 100% right. Samantha says it was also reported as a shooting. I think all of it is all part of a false flag. And it was part of a false flag. I think it was all totally part of a false flag. And, false flag, it could mean several things, that the government actually went through with an operations that were the perpetrator and the people who were apprehending the perpetrator were all in on this action, and it was all fake, and they did it to spur on a public reaction. Then I think there's these false flags where people use something like what just happened to George Floyd 5 years ago as a way to make their argument. A false flag saying that he was killed because a cop abused him by putting his knee on his neck, and which wasn't true at the time, wasn't true now. And the thing was it, because of the video, people like me, a lot of people in the media and journalism, we had to wait. We had to take a wait and see reaction until we saw that what they were saying wasn't true, and then we could make that argument. But on the left, they just had a complete visceral reaction, and it was bad. It was really, really bad. Let's see. What did I want to talk about? Oh, I know what I wanted to talk about. So last week, we did a special election review of the totals that were coming out. This was on Tuesday, election night. And of course, on election night, back in the day, we used to have election day and it would all be over with. And by midnight, we knew who won and what the totals were. We don't do that in Oregon. It's election week, which turns into election month. And so we're still waiting on a few close elections that still are yet to be determined here in Coos County. But we were going over a lot of the different things on election night. And so I want to share my screen here. Let me get my screen share and see if I can get this put up. And bloop, there it is. Let me make sure that it is sharing here. And there we go. And that right there is from the Coos County Clerk's office. I was checking this out a little bit earlier today, and I want to go to the voter totals, the unofficial totals report post-election day. This is right after Election Day last week. And let me increase the size of this so it's easier for you folks to see what's going on. And I'm not going to go through this because I think everyone's already been through this enough. And so I just want to go over some important elections that happened here. And I want to tell you why they were very important. The Southwestern Oregon Community College was very important because we have a bunch of liberals running the college. They're pushing DEI, they're pushing wokeness, and worst of all is they're protecting a registered sex offender. In fact, not only are they protecting them, they praise this guy. They think he walks on sunshine. Well, on election night, they actually had to admit that they did have concerns about him, and they moved him out of the Tioga building, where I guess he was dealing with younger adults who are probably 17, 18, 19 years old, the same age of the young women that this guy molested when he was a teacher. And so I guess the college finally wised up and decided to get him out of the vicinity of those young people, which he never should have been allowed to be in it anyway. So we were trying to get rid of some of the college board members. And of course, here's the position 2, which was held by Marcia Jensen. And Marcia Jensen, a vote for Marcia Jensen is a vote for child molesters. It is true. It's very true. She's a big supporter of sexual registered sex offenders. She thinks that they should all have second chances. It's kind of weird. I don't know why someone like her got reelected, but she did get reelected. This is just the Coos total, but and I'll go back to the 3-county total on this. This wasn't just Stark County that's involved with this, but these are the totals from our county. And as you can see, Chris Castleman lost to Marcia Jensen, Richard Coleman lost to Jeremy Skinner, and Danessa Rains lost to Maria Sedith. And we'll talk about those losses and some of the reasons why that occurred. I just thought that we need to look at these totals. The Bandon School District, this is important because we had 3 good Republicans on the Bandon board: David Heisel, Stan Avery, and a new gentleman who is going to be serving on the Bandon District, and that's Matthew Whitmer. And as you can see in position 1, that was David Heisel versus Corey Gant. Corey Gant won by 59%. In position number 3, Claudia Powers versus Stan Avery. Claudia, she cleaned Stan's clock at 58%. And of course, Angela Cardis and Brianna Hutchins was not even contested. Then we go down to position 7 with John Sullivan and Matthew Whitmer. This one is one of those ones that's going to be too close to call. John Sullivan has 50.86 and Matthew has 48.97%. It's very, very close. We're talking 34 votes. From what I understand, there still are a few ballots to be counted at the clerk's office, and she'll have another release of ballots tomorrow, the next day. And hopefully she'll send me an answer. I asked her the question on exactly how many ballots were open on that. Here's the Coos Bay School District, position 1. Arnie Roblin soundly defeated Chris Castleman, which is too bad because Arnie Roblin is once again a Democrat, a leftist Democrat who believes in DEI, the woke agenda, and that's what they're going to be pushing at the Coos Bay School Board. It's very sad that this has all happened, and we're going to go over the reasons why this happened. Myrtle Point School District, the Coos County, this was another one. This is the North Bend School District. Now, we worked very hard to turn a very liberal North Bend School Board into a very conservative school board. And we got a conservative school board, and they did a lot of great work. And unfortunately, the Democrats were able to levy a campaign against those 4 board members who ran for office, where they ran as a slate. And right now, as you can see in position 2, Mary Schilling is taking on Deanne Weidenman. And Weidenman is winning, but by very few votes. We're just talking very, very few votes. 45 votes that she needs to win this. And like I said, they could win this because there are still votes out that haven't been counted, and we are going to have another release. So Mary still might win this, but it's pretty damn close. And if she loses, it'll be damn sad. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to talk about some of the reasons why this happened. Dallas Pettenbrink, I would call that a loss, 51 41% to 57%. 57% going to Megan Kronsteiner Cahill. Yeah, I would call that a loss. Jim Jordan, he might pull through, and if Mary and Jim pulls through, if we get two people on that board, then it remains a conservative board. But if we lose Jim Jordan and Mary Schilling, then we lose the board and it goes back to being a liberal board. And we've just lost all ground. And like I said, we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Coos County School District number 13, position 6, Julie Thies. She lost to Ann Hewitt. Ann Hewitt got 54% to Julie's 45%, which is sad, very sad. Julie should have soundly handled that. And we're going to talk about that. We don't have to go over any of these. The Bay Area Hospital. This is going to be interesting. Simon Alonso, I believe you can count him as winner. He got 39%. I don't think anyone can touch him. Brandon Sayada, I got 53%, and I think he's pretty safe there. He's going to be safe. Kyle Stevens won it for position 5 at 64%. He's good. Troy Cribbins lost, I mean, he's got name recognition. His wife was a county commissioner here for years and years. So, but he lost to John Uno, who, as far as I know, is a newcomer to politics. But John Uno got 69%, 70%. Either people really don't like Troy Cribbins or they really do like John Uno. I really don't know. I don't know either gentleman personally. So that was just interesting how that turned out. And I want to go down a little bit further for the last, here we go, North Bend. North Bend. Okay, the North Bend charter change. Yes, 63% of the people said yes, they want to change it. I don't know if I understand this one correctly, if that actually still is going to work, because I thought they had to have 51% of the voters to turn out to win that. So I'm not sure. It's a 35.22% turnout. Now, overall, we only got like 29% turnout for the entire election overall. But for the North Bend, they got an actual 35% of the voters to turn out. Now, look at this North Bend sewer rate increase. That died. 57%, I can tell you right now, that died. And once again, look at the voter turnout. 35% of the people turned out for that. That's pretty good. I was predicting anywhere between 36 to 38% of the people will turn out, and I was way, way too high, which isn't unusual. Years ago, we used to have that. I was checking back, and I think it was in 2003, we had like 40% turnout, but it's anywhere between 28 to 40% turnout is not uncommon for these primary elections. But the North Bend fee for parks, recreation, and pool funding, 71%. Hell no. We can barely afford bread, folks. But these are all bogus votes. North Bend, I think these were distractions to get people to vote yes for the. Well, actually, what this was if they needed a 51% turnout to change the North Bend charter, what they were trying to do was get that 51% turnout by having a North Bend sewer rate increase, a North Bend fee for parks, and a North Bend fee for dog parks, which, by the way, also lost by 80%. So what they were trying to do, I think, was trying to kick up the turnout. And as you can see, they did get 35.22% turnout, but they didn't, I think, get enough to make a difference to change that. I'm going to have to find that out to be sure, but I don't think any of these passed, except even the North Bend Public Safety. I still think they have to have 51% turnout to win that, and they only got 35% turnout. So, they just put all of those ridiculous fee increases on there just to get people to show up. It's a dirty trick. And you know why it's a dirty trick? Each one of these ballot categories, according to the county clerk, costs something for the city of North Bend. It costs them something to do each one of these ballot questions. According to the clerk, it costs about $5,000 for the county to ask a ballot question. She hasn't explained why or how, but If that's true, then the city of North Bend just wasted your money to try to get you guys to turn out for this ballot, which is, well, what can I say? That happens. Let's see. I got a few comments. Let's see. Samantha says, please have all the candidates reach out to me so we can talk about contesting their election based on illegal votes. The voter rolls are still very dirty. Marty has the evidence for coups. So if you're interested in that, and if you're one of the candidates who lost, or even if you won, I don't know, if you want to contest your own race, maybe. But you might want to get in contact with Samantha Frost, and I will talk to a few of the candidates and see if they want to do that. Alex Bowser says Coos County school boards are all 100% woke left. Yep. Now they are. Yep. Now they are. Yep, pretty much. Yeah, we got a few conservatives out there, but for the most part, the boards now, especially in Bandon went hard left, really hard left. It's very, very sad. Samantha says the Patriots anyway. Oh, yeah, I'll make sure they're Patriots. I'll only make sure the Patriots are going to get in contact with you, Samantha. And Alex says Avery was just a useless rhino. Alex, I can't disagree with you. That's the problem with the Bandon slate that we had. I had Matthew Whitmer, Stan Avery, and David Heisel speaking at CRL. And do you know what the number one issue that all three of them were pushing? Affordable housing, public housing. And I was, when you're the cameraman and you've got candidates that you want to promote, the last thing you want to do is make them look bad. So if they would have been the Democrats, I immediately said, what do you mean public housing? You want me, someone who makes less money than the average school teacher, to pay for the housing of the school teacher? I don't think so. We already pay their salary. I shouldn't have to pay their housing. So that was their big push with the Republican slate, is that they wanted to talk about public housing. It was I don't know who came up with that idea. It was a very, very bad idea. And on top of it, I think it was 2 or 3 months ago, Stan Avery and David Heisel were two of the board members that voted for an excise tax here in Bandon, Oregon. That excise tax goes on all new construction, and it's a pretty high tax. They're talking a couple of $1,000s for a new permit for construction on housing out here. And so I think between that and pushing the public housing projects that they were pushing, Republicans aren't going to vote for that. I'm not, I voted for them, but I didn't want to. I just held my nose because now, what did we have on the other side? Corey Gant. I forget the other people's names. Let's see if I still have it up here. No, I don't have it up here. But the other people who were running against the Bandon slate of Republicans, they were running as a slate as well. The only difference between them and the Republicans is that the leftists were all about DEI and wokeness. They were all about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And Stan Avery, David Heisel, and Matthew Whitmer were opposed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So the only difference between the two was that issue. Was really that issue. Oh, I know. And allowing teachers to have concealed handguns, concealed firearms. That was one of the other issues that divided these two slates. But yeah, you can't be a Republican, go to a Republican or a conservative meeting where mostly conservative people are going to be there, and your one big push is public housing. No, nobody wants to pay for public housing. I don't want the government in the real estate market. And all of these projects that these schools keep putting out there for public housing, well, that public housing is sitting on land that's not taxed. And that new public housing project, all these new developments, well, they're going to need the same services that you and I need. And if they're not paying property taxes for the land they're sitting on, they're not paying for the services that they're going to have to use. And if they're not paying for those services, who do you think is going to pay for those services? I know, maybe the rest of us taxpayers. So we're either going to have to pay more in taxes for those services, or those services will have to be cut.
And Gary Landry says, anyone that endorses public houses need to take a look at Nickerson Gardens in Compton. Look at how that turned out. Cops won't even respond there anymore and haven't for years. Oh, yeah, Gary, you want to see one of the worst public housing disasters? Look up the Robert Taylor Project. The Taylor Project, which was done by Robert Taylor, a black man from, I believe it was in Detroit. I think it was in Detroit that this housing one of the worst housing projects. And like you said, Gary, the cops won't even show up to these places. It's a no-go zone. The cops won't go in there, and yet they want all these poor, defenseless people in there because, a lot of these public houses, they won't even allow you to have firearms in these public houses. A lot of the HUD housing, they won't allow you to have firearms in there, which is totally illegal. Don't put up with it. I'd sue on that. But that's what's happening. So anyone, especially a Republican, is out there talking and endorsing public housing, yeah, I'm going to have a problem supporting them. So that's part and parcel why they lost on that slate. But I want to go into what happened just recently on Thursday, 2 days after the election. I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why the Republicans lost. And the top reason was that the Democrats were better organized, played a better ground game, and were energized way beyond what the Republicans were. And you could tell that by all the demonstrations that they are having on a weekly basis. In Bandon, they can get like 80 to 90 people out there in the streets. In Coos Bay, they're getting a couple of hundred people out on the boardwalk. And from what I understand, they're having weekly meetings. The Democrats are having weekly meetings, and they're very energized. That's the number one reason why we lost, is that they're better organized. They have a better ground game, meaning that they have people on the streets knocking on doors. They have people making phone calls. They have people making commercials for their candidates. They've got it all together. They're organized. I'm jealous. Of the Democrats, how well organized they were. In fact, the Republicans, I think the Republican chair should probably go to the Democrat Party and sit around at the Democrat meetings and learn how to actually become a better campaigner because, our guys on the Republican side, they suck. They suck really bad. And so we had a Republican meeting on Thursday night. Now, here's the difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. The Democrats also had their regular party meeting that same Thursday night, this past Thursday. You know where they were meeting? They were meeting at Coney Station, and they were having a party. They were celebrating. They were dancing on the tables. The drinks were flowing. Everyone's having a good time. We're celebrating. We're the Democrats. Woo, we won. And they won in a Republican county. The Democrats here kicked our ass, and we have no excuse. 60% of us voted for Donald Trump. That means 60% of us are more conservative than there are liberals in this county. And yet, for this special district election, we just got our hats handed to us. They rolled us out into the street like a two-bit bum, and they spit on us as we laid there in the gutter. Yep, that's what happened to us last Tuesday. I don't know if you know it. That's what happened. I know it's not the first time I had to pull myself up out of a gutter after being rolled out of some establishment. Well, that's what happened to us on Tuesday. We got rolled out of our own county. We got shellacked like nobody's business. And like I said, the number one reason is because the Democrats were better organized, have a better ground game, and they've got a lot of motivation. They're highly motivated. That being said, the Republicans are a bunch of self-defeatists. The Republican Party has been taken over by their own candidates. Bad candidates. Boomer Wright, Dick Anderson, Senator Dick Anderson, Representative Court Boyce, and Senator David Brock Smith are in control of the Republican Party, mainly David Brock Smith. And what David Brock Smith has done is he's put his own patsy in charge of the Republican Party. And that gentleman's name is Michael Brainerd. Now, Michael Brainerd, he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy, but he's being duped. And because he's not the most intelligent person, he's not the most he's kind of socially awkward. He's not the most personable type of person. And I believe he can be easily manipulated. And that's why the leaders, the former chair, Rod Schilling, and Senator David Brock Smith picked this guy, wanted this guy to be in charge of the Republican Party. And they got enough precinct captains, PCPs, those are the people who vote on the Central Committee for a political party. They voted, and they got enough of their PCPs there to put Michael Brainerd in charge. And now you've got a party that's completely dysfunctional. Completely dysfunctional. I'll even see if I can pull it up here. Let me see if I can. I haven't been there a while. The Coos County Republican Party. And so part of the reason that they're failing is, and we kept asking this, and I kept asking this last week, is why is this party failing? Is it intentional? Is it because they're incompetent? I don't know. After going to Thursday's meeting, I have to look at Michael Brainerd and the way he conducted himself. And I would have to say that's a lot of incompetence there. That man should not be in charge of the party. That man should not even have a microphone in front of his face. And I'll tell you what, this is how Michael Brainerd presented himself last Thursday. We were all pissed off when we showed up at the meeting. We were all pissed off because we were mad that David Brock Smith endorsed a bunch of Democrats. And we were mad that the party had this really crappy website and didn't do much for their candidates. They were completely AWOL. Not AWOL, I should say MIA, missing in action. They were completely missing in action, MIA. And so we were angry when we got there to this meeting, and Michael Brainerd, it's a Central Committee meeting, and he has an agenda, and the first thing he was going to talk about was the elections. Oh, great, good, because we want to talk about the elections. And he puts his slide up there, and the slide says something to the effect, Republicans win. And then he had a slide that says 80 Republicans ran for office in the special district election, 51 30 lost. And this guy was actually selling Tuesday night as a victory for the Republicans. Now, all of us were sitting there looking at each other going, is he off his damn rocker? Victory? We just got our clocks cleaned, our hats handed to us. We just lost. We got our butts kicked, man. We seriously got rolled out in the street. And this guy, Michael Brainerd, the chair of the Republican Party, is at the meeting telling us, oh no, we were winners. We're a bunch of winners because out of the 80 Republicans, 51 and 30 lost. And he was right. The numbers are correct. But here's what he wasn't telling you, and wasn't saying out loud, is that the 50 who won, the 50 Republicans who won, most of them were in uncontested races. They were going to win no matter what. They won just because they showed up. Great. Good for them. I think that's great. I think there was one contested race, and that was for CCAT, the Coos County Area Transit System, CCAT, the bus system. And who won that? Phil Taylor. Phil Taylor won that, and he was running against Alonzo Simon, and he won. He's won, or at least he's winning right now. He won. And they didn't even bother to call this guy up and congratulate him. No. If we got 50 winners, 49 of them were in uncontested races. But what he wasn't telling you is that the 30 who lost were the important ones who were on those slates for the school boards. He didn't talk about the 4 potential Republicans, because two still have a chance. 2 still have a chance at the North Bend School District. He didn't talk about that. We lost the best school board that we had in this county, and that's North Bend. And that's still right now, if the numbers stay the same, we're going to lose that. We lost Bandon. We lost Bandon. He didn't mention that. And we lost Swauk. And not once did he mention the fact that David Brock Smith, the leading senator for the Republican Party, endorsed the liberal leftist Democrats on the Swauk board. No, he didn't happen to mention that. No, he was bragging about, we're winners because out of the 80 Republicans, 51. No, Michael, we got our clocks cleaned, man. I want to go through a couple of comments. Let's see. Let's go back up here. Gary Landry goes back to the projects we were talking about. Compton project was built in 1954, post-war reasonable housing for veterans. What a disaster. Yeah, boy, that went that went really bad. Samantha Frost. Oh, you know what, Gary, going back to that, I know a lady who actually put up the curtains. She was they made the curtains for those projects back in the Tony Nathan. Tony Nathan, she was a famous libertarian, the only libertarian woman ever to be nominated for vice president, the position of vice president. Yeah, set a record. Tony Nathan and her husband actually designed and put up all the curtains for those projects. Isn't that weird how that goes around? She made a lot of money off those projects, and she was opposed to them. As a libertarian, she was completely opposed to the projects, but she made a lot of money putting up curtains for those guys. Samantha Frost says, TBH, though, the machines are voting for everyone. This was a pre-programmed to begin with. I'm guessing DBS probably had some day in the programming as well. Okay, Phil Taylor says, I'm still mentally processing that Republican meeting. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah, Phil, I got news for you. It's not the first time I've been to one of those Republican meetings. That was exactly, it was like a repeat. Yeah, I've been to those meetings like that before, and it's sad that we're having to relive this again because we shouldn't. That meeting should have flowed much better than what it did. And Steve Nye, he says, Michael Brainerd is a doer. He is not a leader. The best thing is for him to step down into a different role. Samantha Frost says, say, not day, sorry. Got it. Gotcha, Samantha. Okay, so back to the Republican meeting. I was sitting at the table with a bunch of people who were upset and wanted to talk about David Brock Smith endorsing those Democrats. And in fact, Samuel Adams, who was sitting right next to me, you all know Samuel Adams. If you're on Facebook, you'll know who he is. He got up and he was yelling at them, mad because they wanted to push this idea that we won, that 50 Republicans won and 30 lost, not mentioning that we lost the 30 contested seats that, and I don't know if they were 30, but we lost all the contested seats that we were running for. Yeah, he didn't mention that. Yeah, but we wanted to talk about it. And as soon as Samuel Adams got up and started demanding we talk about it, Rod Schilling asked him to leave. Now, this is a party that's trying to grow itself. We got all these new people there, and Rod Schilling's asking this guy to leave. Then he threatens to call the cops on him. And I'm thinking, man, all you had to do was ask him to speak his piece. I don't understand these people at these. I know he's got an agenda, but Michael Brainerd could have stopped the agenda, made a point of order, and said, sir, if you're angry about something, let's hear what this man is angry about. And the party might learn something. The party would have learned something that night if they just would have shut up and listened. It's not that hard, Michael. It's not that hard, Rod. But you didn't do it. And so Michael went through the elections and he started going through the different categories. And it was nonsense. He was making up nonsense numbers talking about how many Republicans voted last election compared to how many voted for this election. And I mean, he was just talking nonsense. And many of us wanted to talk about this website. Look at this website that we have here. And it's pretty pathetic when you compare it to the Coos County Democrat Party, or they call it the Democratic Party, but we know the truth. But you look at our website. Here's our website, Coos County Republicans. Look at this picture over here. This is a stock picture. I don't even know these people. I don't know why this is up here, but look at this. Look at this. Then here's a picture of the candidates. Look how unprofessional this is. All he did was put a file on his front page of the website. That's ridiculous. Then at the bottom here, he's got candidates. Oh, let's go to the candidates. Then you go to the candidates, 2025 district elections. These are the Republicans running. And then you go down and realize, oh, there's nothing there. So you have to go up and go to the county boards, the school board, the port health. He's got them all divided up. So you have to go to the different ones. Here we are. And of course, like on the Bandon School Board, he only has David Heisel and Stan Avery. Now, Matthew Whitmer is not a Republican, but he's not a Republican, but he is a conservative. So that's one of the things we're going to have to talk about at the party, because the party needs to decide, are we just going to support Republicans, even crappy Republicans? I mean, Troy Cribbins is a Republican. Yeah, I mean, so's Mitt Romney. So is Liz Cheney. Yeah, we're going to support those Republicans. I hope not. I really, really hope not. But that's our website right there. And I don't know. To me, it looks like it looks like a fifth grade project. So let me show you the Democrat website. Here's the Democrat website. Oh, look at that. I actually know these people. I know let's see. 1, 2, there's Dee Dee Murphy. There's Mo. Oh, I forget that lady's name. And there's that asshole. What's Merkley? There's Caddy. Caddy's down there. I know this lady. So I know most of these people. So they at least have pictures on their website of people that you might know. You might know these people. Yeah, this is the Democrats compared to our website. Congratulations to all our candidates. Look at this. The election has ended. Here are the results. Look at that. You've got the results of the election on here. Heck, ours, you can barely find our candidates. And by the way, they have their candidates up here where you could find a spot to check out their candidates. Look at this, talking about their monthly central committee meetings. They got that up there. Yeah, you won't find that on Republicans. It's hard to find that. Very confusing on the Republicans. But the Democrats, look at, they got their protest. You see down here, this is their weekly meeting they got going on. 4 ways to make a difference. I didn't see any way to make a difference on the Republican. Didn't see any way. So there you go. And so they even got a place to the election. Click here for results. Let's see what the results were. And oh, look at there. It goes to the unofficial turnout for the Secretary of State's. Nice. That's a nice. There's where that link goes. But that's very nice. They got a lot of stuff over there on the Democrat website. They look really good. Our website, not so much. So we're at this Republican meeting, and we got Chris Castleman. To his credit, he got 10 people to show up to sign up for precinct captain persons. Now, the party is trying to grow. At least that's what the leaders say. They want to grow the party. They want more people active. And ever since I've been going to the party, going all the way back to 2004, going to those Republican parties, every single time someone wanted to be a precinct captain, they would just make them a precinct captain. Every meeting that I ever went to for the Republicans, that's how we did it at the meetings. Oh, you want to be part of the party? Oh, you want to be a precinct captain person? We're going to make you a precinct captain person. Oh, not this meeting. No, not this meeting. At the meeting we went to on Thursday, they tell us, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to vote for precinct captains. And of course, we were asking, well, why? Why not? What's the problem with you? And they said, well, we didn't vet these people. And we're like, well, we're right here. And of course, I'm standing up. I go, my name's Rob Taylor. I've only been coming to these meetings since 2004. You need to vet me. Do I need to be vetted too? Oh, yeah, we got to vet everyone. Never heard of such a thing. Now, here's the weird thing. Chris and some of the new board members have been wanting to change the rules of the party so that they can vet candidates. And Rod Schilling tells them, no, we can't vet candidates. No, we don't want to find out if our candidates are actually real conservatives or not. We don't want to vet them, but they want to vet PCPs. Now, why would you want to do that? When the party used to take people and allow them to become a PCP at any meeting, and then all of a sudden at a meeting where they had a huge loss, they have no excuses for it, and they don't want new PCPs. Well, there's an explanation for this. They're worried that the new PCPs are there and will vote to take out their chairman, their chair of the board, Michael Brainerd. And why would they want him to leave? Well, because he should leave. He should have resigned. Michael Brainerd should have got up there at the meeting on Thursday and said, I apologize to all of you for my incompetent leadership, and I am resigning my position for the loss that we sustained as a party. Thank you. I'm leaving in shame. Have a good night. That's what Michael Brainerd should have done. But he didn't do that. No, he didn't do that. He wanted to continue on. He wanted to continue on because he knows he's a dupe for a senator. Now, this is a young man who doesn't have a personal life, doesn't really have much of a life at all. And so his whole thrill is running this political party. His whole life is about doing this political party. And that young man now is under the tutelage, like that word tutelage, the tutelage of our own Senator David Brock Smith. So of course they don't want this guy to go. So that's why, for the first time I have ever seen at a Republican meeting, they refuse to accept applications for new precinct committee persons. And I got news for you. Rod, if you're watching, David Brock Smith, if you're watching, Michael Brainerd, if you're watching, the lady who runs the Chamber of Commerce, the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce, she was there at that meeting. She watched as our dirty laundry was exposed to God and everyone, and it was turned into a complete circus. That meeting was a complete circus, and now everyone's going to know, because I can guarantee you that lady from the Chamber of Commerce, I watched her walk out. I watched at least a half a dozen people walked out, and they were usually screaming and yelling at the leadership as they were walking out, telling them that you people are crazy. You people, you're out of your mind for not taking responsibility. It was wild. It was a wild meeting. But I watched the lady from the Chamber of Commerce walk out of there. And I know when she got home or she got to her car, first thing she did, she got up on her phone, went tick, 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 and she talked to the next person of the political class and said, wow, I just went to the Republican meeting. Was a real shit show. Those Republicans are screwed up. I can guarantee you this lady was on the phone talking to the who's who of the political elite here in Coos County, telling them how embarrassing the Republican Party has become. And you're the leadership of the Republican Party, Rod Schilling and Michael Brainerd, you should resign. You should resign. And the next people who get in there, you need to fix this party. We need a Republican Party to be functioning the same way that the Democrat Party is. Or you better get ready to lose elections. Otherwise, we're going to have to create our own political action committee, which we're talking about that. We may have to create our own political action committee and run our own candidates, because the party is so disorganized, is so messed up, is so ultra micromanaged by the leadership, that the people who are supposed to be running that party, it's supposed to be about the people. It's not anymore. Yeah. Steve Knight says, Allison is a registered Republican and she is the current president. We brainstormed how to fix it. Yeah, I would love to talk to you about that, Steve. I would love to talk to you about that, because that's what our goal is. You know, when I knew that what happened at that meeting was more than likely going to be the results of us showing up demanding that we have precinct committee people there to be registered, I knew that that was probably going to be one of the resulting actions, because when people get in power, they don't want to give up that power. And so we know that we're going to be there at the next meeting, and they're telling us that they're going to take PCP applications at the next meeting. So we have 10 applicants. And what we are going to do is, as soon as we get enough PCPs in there, we're going to demand a new election, and we're going to try to change the leadership. And this isn't a surprise. We're not doing this as a sneak attack. If we were doing this as a sneak attack, I wouldn't have told you what we were doing, right? So we're on the up and up. The leadership should resign. Michael Brainerd should resign. And we would love to have him there as the party. He does a great job doing the things he does do well. He does well, and we should have him there to use those qualities. We want to be able to utilize all those qualities that he has, but one of them is not being the chair. And we need a new chair. And that's what we're going to try to do when we get new PCPs. And then we're going to change the bylaws. Right now, they have a rule in the bylaws that says the old chair, once he has done his term and there's a new chair reelected, that the old chair still gets a vote on the executive committee. Have you ever heard of such a thing? Have you ever heard of any? I've been on a lot of boards in my lifetime, dozens and dozens of boards, political, for business, for many different things. And I've never seen a rule on a board where you would have the old chair keeping a vote on a new executive board. Why would you do that? If you vote for a new chair, why would you have the old chair still there voting? Well, there's only one answer for that: for control. They want Rod Schilling to have a vote because Rod is one of David Bruck-Smith's people. They want Michael Brainerd to have a vote because Michael Brainerd is one of David Bruck-Smith's people. And that's how they have a captured party. And that's what we're going in to fight against, is we're going to go and get as many people in to register. And we are going to get those PCPs in there. And we're going to try to take out the leadership. And we're going to try to change the bylaws and get new leadership. So that was just pretty much where we're at. Steve Nye says, this is interesting. Steve Nye says, this is the message I sent to Rod Schilling. Good evening, Rod. This is Steve Nye, and you probably don't know me. I went to a CCRP meeting in November to see how the Republican Party is doing things. I left disappointed in the lack of cohesive efforts and dysfunction I witnessed. You impressed me, but the chaos in election concerned me. As a concerned Republican, I chose to attend the May CCRP meeting and was even more disappointed. Are we trying to improve our county's position by this garbage? And I don't know. Good question. Phil Taylor says, I've been sitting by the phone waiting for a call about my paper application. Yeah. He's talking about his PCP filing. And yeah, don't hold your breath, Phil. This makes me mad because the Republican Party wasn't always like this. There were times when we had chairs who were very controlling, very manipulative, and we would have to clean house. And I've done that before. I've gotten rid of chairs for the party before. I did that with a gentleman by the name of Rick Hoffine. His brother's in real estate. Rick's in real estate. Rick Hoffine, Steve Norlander. There was several of us. We got enough PCPs registered in the Americans for Prosperity group. We had 16 PCPs. We went to a central committee meeting for the Republicans. They only had 14 of their PCPs there, and we were able to take all of their people out and put our people in. And the party was functioning for a while. And then for some reason, when this David Bruck-Smith character showed up and started demanding loyalty from everyone, no matter how crazy he voted, no matter how many Democrats he supported, no matter how many windmills he wanted to put up off the coast, no matter how many Tampon Dave wanted to put in the bathroom, he demanded loyalty from everyone else. And if you didn't give him loyalty, well, then you were going to suffer the consequences. And the way he does that is by capturing the party. And he does that by putting his people in. The Douglas County Republicans are even worse than we are. Curry County actually is somewhat better. They're somewhat better, and they're starting to stand up to David Brock Smith. But we need people in there who are going to stand up to Republicans who are not true conservatives, and try to find Republicans who will replace these people. Good conservative Republicans who will attract people back to the party. We want a party that's functioning again. And it's just sad. It's just absolutely sad and depressing. And, you know, I want to show you a picture here. Let me see if I got this picture here. There we go. This is a picture from last week's town hall. This is Wyden's town hall. You see all those wonderful people there? Oh, yeah. That's part of the political class right there. And if you can see Wyden in the back, I don't know if you can see far enough on the screen, but on each end, you've got the mayor of North Bend on the far left, and the second to the last on the right is David Milliron. Of course, they were there. Now, if you can see this is a classroom at the North Bend High School, and I'm sure he met with all these people before his town hall, because that's usually what they do. They come into town and they meet with the political class, and that's what he's doing. He's meeting with some of these people. I want to get a close-up of this picture, though. Look, who's behind right there, Val Hoyle. Of course, it's David Brock Smith. Now, this is Ron Wyden's town hall, and you've got a Republican senator there kissing his ass. Why? Why does the Republican senator need to be at Ron Wyden's town hall? Why does he need to be there with Val Hoyle? I mean, if I was a Republican senator and I was fighting these people in office, I don't think I would be there getting these picture ops. Now, the other two people, the two people right next to Ron Wyden, those two people right there, they're involved with the shrimp industry. They are part of a shipping co-op. Gosh, I'm trying to think of the organization. I had their names here, and let's see if I can pull that up. Yeah. Oh, Nick and Jill Edwards. Yeah, that's Nick and Jill Edwards to the right of Ron Wyden, and they're in the Oregon Shrimp Producers Marketing Cooperative. And this you'll find interesting. Let me see if I can share this. Remove this. Let's add this to the stage. That guy right there, him and several other people in Oregon, they just got $16 million from the Trump administration. It says here, feds buy $16 million of Oregon seafood to offset industry losses. This is due to the tariffs. In a regular season, commercial fishing boats off the Oregon coast set out at the beginning of April to catch Pacific pink shrimp and then be canned or frozen at a local processing facility. This year, those plans got delayed. They decided to wait and put it off 2 weeks at least, said Nick Edwards, the secretary of the Shrimp Producers Marketing Cooperative. He also commercially fishes Dungeness crabs and pink cocktail shrimp. Processors were waiting following trade uncertainty after the Trump administration imposed sweeping 10% tariffs on all imported goods to the U.S. In response, countries from the European Union, one of the biggest overseas buyers of Oregon pink shrimp, imposed a 25% retaliatory tariff on goods from the U.S. The list included cold water shrimp. Pacific pink shrimp is popular in Scandinavian countries and is served many ways, from salads to soups or as a garnish on all sorts of dishes. Although the 25% tariffs are on pause right now, the market disruption was devastating. European buyers canceled several shipments weeks before the pause was announced, according to Edwards. In response, the Oregon industry and government officials lobbied the U.S. Department of Agriculture to buy the shrimp domestically. to make up for the international losses in early May. On Tuesday, they heard back the federal government will buy $16 million worth of Oregon pink shrimp. I wonder what $16 million of pink shrimp looks like. So good for them. Good for them. That was a good thing. And that's all because, well, I guess this guy right here, Nick Edwards and his wife, were very successful in lobbying the Trump administration, getting that $16 million of shrimp sold. And I can understand that. A lot of us are being affected by the tariffs. So that was probably a good thing. But my whole point is that these people are kissing up to Ron Wyden. So why is our Republican senator there, David Brock Smith, doing the same thing? Isn't he I don't know. Samantha, that's funny. Samantha says Douglas County is gaining patriots, though. I think people are just so fed up with all the Democrats that identify as Republicans. The voters, people know what is going on. Not sure why the PCPs don't. And well, I think they do, Samantha. I think they're in on the grift. The PCPs of Douglas County, they're all in on the grift. Samantha says, if Wyden ever touched me, he wouldn't have an arm left. I bet that's true, Samantha. Yeah, Samantha says, sorry, Dracula, Wyden, Dracula. He does look like Dracula. He looks like Count Dracula on Cocoa Puffs box, doesn't he? That's the Dracula he looks like. But I thought that was an interesting story, and I just happened to find that out because, a completely different story. Going back to the Republicans and their captured party. All of this because I was talking about the captured party of the Republicans. And they're recaptured by one man, the senator, David Brock Smith. He uses them as a campaign arm or an arm of his campaign. And he doesn't want anyone in there who's going to cause him problems or make him look bad. And that's what we have with the Republican Party. But I do believe that it will get better. And I did get something interesting from this past election. I don't know if you guys saw this. This was a meme that I put up during the campaign, and I didn't make this meme. Someone shared it with me, so I shared it too because it's totally correct. It says, important, a vote for Marcia Jensen is a vote to keep child molesters at our local college, which is true. Curtis Buell, who is a registered sex offender, he molested two girls being children, makes him a child molester. He molested two girls, and we believe there's more. Allegedly, we believe there's more, but we do know there were two girls. He's been proven guilty in a court of law. And this crazy woman, Marcia Jensen, you're gonna love this. Look at this. Let me put this up on screen here. I was responding to David Brock Smith in an article he put up, and I posted that meme. And if you can see down there, Mary Jensen responds. She says, you'll be hearing from my attorney. You know, slander and libel. Stay tuned. And of course, I responded to Marcia because, well, she's just a dumbass bitch and needed someone to slap her back into reality on Facebook. So I says, bring it on, Marcia, because I have the most impenetrable defense, the truth. Yeah, go ahead. Sue me in a court of law. I dare you. And by the way, it's libel. L-I-B-L-E, not liable. L-I-A-B-L-E. Marcia, I thought you were on the college board. You don't even know how to spell. And by the way, slander is when I say it. Libel is when I write it. Okay, so just so you know, that would be libel if it weren't true, but it is true, Marcia. A vote for you is a vote for child molesters, is a vote for sexual predators. You even say that in the letter, that you think all these people deserve a second chance. Not with my kid and not with anyone else's kids there, Marcia. So screw you, Marcia. I'll be waiting I'll be waiting for the attorney in that lawsuit. Because I can tell you right now. Let's see, Henry Delaney. He threatened to sue me in 2018. Yeah, he was the registered sex offender that I exposed. That kind of sounds sick. I exposed a registered sex offender back in 2018 because he was getting urban renewal money. Yeah, I got $25,000 of our money. He got it for free. And I exposed him and he threatened to sue me. Yeah, I'm still waiting for that lawsuit. And of course, David Brock Smith threatened to sue me. When was that? Last year. David, I'm still waiting for the attorney. Still waiting for the attorney to call. I'm still waiting for the court date, David. Haven't found it. So, Marcia, you're going to be in a long group of people who want to sue me. So get in line because, it's wow. And she's the one who supports things like, this kind of crap in our library. She's all about diversity, equity, and inclusion and all that crap. And she's going to sue me. No, Marcia, the students, especially the young women, they should be suing you. They should be suing you. No, you sue me? No, they should be suing you. If anyone should be sued here, Marcia, it should be you. And I agree, Gary. It's just nuts. So I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for my letters. It's kind of like when I was on the air when Cribbins was threatening to sue Jim Bice. Yeah, she was going to sue him for libel. And he had to explain to her, well, if I said it on the radio, that's slander, Melissa. And Melissa was an attorney. Yeah, Melissa was an attorney at the time and didn't even know the difference between slander and libel. I love it. Steve Nye says, I'm not going to defend DBS, but getting in a picture of people giving attention to our county and working with people over the aisles is an unfortunate part of politics. Yeah, I agree with you. If it wasn't for everything else, that picture wouldn't mean nothing. It's just a politician whoring himself out to the cameras. That's what all politicians do. They're all publicity whores. David Brock Smith is the biggest publicity whore of them all. I know what they were doing, and I agree with you. There's probably pictures of me with people I don't like either. But when you put it into the context of this guy endorsed Democrats for the election, and then he's going to the Democrats' town hall. Yeah, you start to ask yourself, who does this guy really work for? You know what I mean, Steve? It just starts to add up after a while. And so you got to put those pictures together. And, David Brock Smith, Boomer Wright, and of course, Dick Anderson, they were all for that urban renewal project in North Bend. And so I know it was really hard for Boomer Wright and David Brock Smith to come out and endorse the North Bend Republican candidates, but they did. They did the right thing, but unfortunately, David Brock Smith's endorsement of the North Bend candidates may have actually hurt him after he endorsed the Democrats for the college. It was a form of voter suppression. That's what David Brock Smith, when he endorsed the college Democrats, what he did was send out a message to the rest of the Republicans: don't bother voting because there's no Republicans worth voting for. It was a form of voter suppression. And so, and it wasn't the first time. Him getting me canceled off the radio, that was a form of voter suppression too, because the reason that we got so many people elected during the special districts election in 2024 was because I was on the radio for about 4 or 5 months promoting the candidates. Nobody was doing that on the radio this year. Nobody. And who got me canceled? David Brock Smith. So you have to ask yourself, he gets the top conservative kicked off the radio station, so there's no one there to promote conservatives for office. Then he's endorsing Democrats so that a lot of the Republicans are confused, and so they are confused and disorganized, and they don't show up to the ballot box. And then you got him showing up at the town hall, getting his picture with the top leading Democrats. And you start to wonder, who is this guy working for? Makes you wonder. James McHenry says factory workers in China are protesting and setting factories on fire because they're not getting paid because of how effective tariffs are in China. Yeah, that's a problem for them. I think that's people don't realize how delicate the Chinese economy really is. You know, people think, oh, the China, they're economic force to deal with. Well, no, they've got problems too. They've got a huge deficit as well. Their money, their businesses are propped up by the government, so they've got a lot of problems. Samantha Frost says, this was a town hall though, so did Tampon Dave ask any hardball questions? And that's the other thing. Did Dave go there to challenge some of the policies that Wyden and Val Hoyle was promoting? Did he ask about the MOTA money? Gee, Val, why were you getting all that MOTA money? La MOTA. We have the best politicians that money can buy at La MOTA. And so therefore, if he's not changing these people, it sounds to me like he's working with them. Good point, Samantha. Yeah, that picture wouldn't mean anything if you didn't have a senator who just committed a horrible offense of voter interference. And that's literally what he did. And I just gave you two examples. Getting me canceled off the radio caused voter interference by causing voter suppression and lack of information. And then he caused voter interference by committing voter suppression when he endorsed a slate of Democrats. David Brock Smith did this, not me. I supported all the Republicans. Every single Republican who ran for office that was in a contested race, I supported. I more than supported. I went out and I talked with people. I posted on Facebook nonstop. I was right. I did an article. I did a list of people that I was voting for. I did all the right things. And so did a lot of other people. We backed the party. We backed the party Republicans. And who didn't? I'll tell you who. David Brock Smith. So I don't know. I hate to beat a drum, but what can I tell you? What can I tell you? And we got another story that concerns our favorite senator. I might as well put this on stage. I'm trying to. Here we go. You remember the fire maps, the mapping bill? Yeah, it was. Remember this was the bill that the Republicans and Democrats all supported, the mapping bill. David Brock Smith voted for it. Most of the Republicans in the House voted for it. The people who didn't vote for it were the majority of the Republicans in the Senate. And that's because the majority of the Republicans in the Senate are good Republicans. And in fact, they're about the only good Republicans up in Salem at this point. Maybe Yunker on the other side. You see this guy right there? That's Dave Honeycutt. I haven't talked to Dave Honeycutt in a long time. He actually created a far leftist group that wasn't as far left as it is now than it was when he created it. When he created it, it wasn't nearly as leftist. And that's the 1,000 Friends of Oregon. He was one of the founders of 1,000 Friends of Oregon. So he's kind of a lefty, but in this case, he's actually doing some good work over here. And let me show you this article. He wants you to take action now. The wildfire map repeal bill caught in endgame politics. And what has happened is in a disappointing move, the legislature has stalled Senate Bill 83A. That's the one that repeals the mapping bill, most of the regulations in the mapping bill, and sending it to the House Committee on Rules for further discussion instead of allowing it to move forward for a final vote. And so this is what we worry about. You've got a good bill that I believe it was unanimous in the Senate. Dick Anderson didn't vote for it because he was absent. He was absent, but it was majority unanimous in the Senate other than Anderson, who was absent. And the Senate bill is now in the House. And instead of it going to the floor for a full vote, no. What did those filthy Democrats do? Well, they shoved it into a committee, the House Committee on Rules. But this bipartisan bill is a common sense fix to the flawed wildfire hazard map, which we told them not to vote for in the first place, but they did, which imposed unfair regulations, increased cost, and reduced property values for rural Oregonians. It passed the Senate unanimously, following months of stakeholder input and careful legislative review. Yet instead of advancing it, House leadership has chosen to play games with a completely uncontroversial bill in order to force rural legislators into a tough position. As usual, rural Oregonians end up being the victims of Salem politics. And here's why. Why are they holding up the bill? Well, moving Senate Bill 83 to rules appears to be a strategic choice to force rural legislators to vote to keep the kicker, the excess money that the state has collected from Oregon taxpayers to pay for wildfire costs. More on this below. To be clear, everyone, including us, wants a fully funded wildfire program. Anything less puts countless lives and property at risk. However, the debate lies in how the legislature decides to fund the wildfire program and who should bear the burden. Wildfire funding is a complicated issue that the legislature has been debating for decades. This is not a new conversation, and one that is notoriously controversial. In order to have a fully functional wildfire program, it needs to be resolved by the legislature. But the wildfire funding debate has nothing to do with the wildfire maps. Nothing at all. So holding SB 83A hostage in an effort to force a vote on funding is simply an effort to put rural legislators in a tough spot, all at the expense of their constituents. Doesn't that sound about right? Isn't that about as familiar of a story that we hear nonstop? So this bill, the wildfire mapping bill, which nobody should have voted for, we told them not to vote for it. Dennis Lithicum wrote a big article telling them not to vote for it. And we told them all the things that it was due. It's going to cause more regulations, which is going to drive up the cost. It's going to make it harder to get loans to buy property. It's going to be harder. It's going to be harder to get by these regulations. Insurance is going to go up. All of that happened. All of that happened. And they told us, no, you're wrong. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. Isn't that amazing? We always do that. We nonstop. It was like the tampon bill. I remember when Dave was voting for that, and we told him, Dave, it's going to put tampons in the boys' bathroom. No, you don't know what you're talking about. No. Sure as shit, he had to write me back and apologize. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. That bill did put tampons in the boys' bathroom. So, yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy out there. Call in on that bill. You can go testify on that, and all you have to do is go to the legislature's website, and let me see. I think I got that. I think I can even share that right here. There you go. Is that being shared? Do I got that? No, let me share that up there. They're there. So you can go to the Oregon legislature, and right there you can see the legislature. Let me roll up a little bit here. Senate Bill 83A. So go to Ole's, because that's where you find the bills. Go to the bills here, and it's SB 83. As you can see, I looked it up earlier there. You can go right there and go. Bloop, there it is. Okay. All right. Here's the bill. This is the bill we need. This is the bill that fixed the other bill, because the other bill that they passed was screwed up. So this bill fixes it. And of course, they're playing games with it. So we need you to tell them to not play games with this. So let me make sure this is still sharing, because I want to make sure and get this tab. It's kind of important here. And you can go up here to testimony, and anyone can testify. This is real easy. You click this testimony tab. You see that? You see that? Yep. And you'll go down and you'll show you all the people who are opposed to this and all the people who are for it. I don't know why this guy supports it. Yeah. Wow, there's quite a few people opposed to this. I don't know why they would be opposed to this. But this is where you can give testimony, and you can register to testify if you're going to be there in person, or you can submit testimony. And you can just push submit testimony, and it says, thank you for your interest in providing written testimony on measure. Either this measure is not currently scheduled for a public hearing, or the deadline to register to testify or submit written testimony has passed. Okay, so that's okay. That's all right. You can still call your legislator, And you can demand that they bring this out of the committee, because you can go to the committee. Let me see. Let me go back to the article. Maybe I missed it, but maybe there's somewhere here that says, oh, here you go. So at the end of this article, let me go back to sharing this article. Because you can't testify on this anymore, at the end of this article, which can be found at oregonpropertyowners.org, and you just look up their action center, it gives you the contacts of all the people on that committee. Christine Drazen is on that committee. I'd give her a call. Shelley Bosshart Davis is on that committee. I'd give her a call. But I'd give all of these people a call. I'm probably going to send them all an email a little bit later and let them know they need to get that out of committee. They need to put this bill, stop playing games. Oh, and look, they give you a little bit of thing you can say here. Every day that Senate Bill 83A is delayed, Oregonians pay the price, losing property values, facing unfair regulations, and struggling under a flawed wildfire hazard map. This bill has strong bipartisan support and passed unanimously out of the Senate. SB 83A deserves to move forward now without being held hostage to funding negotiations. Our communities have waited long enough. Stop the games and pass SB 83A. Give Oregonians the relief they urgently need. And you can do that. You can do that right there at the legislative website, or you can go to right here. What's the name of that? Let me see. Oregonianspropertyowners.org. Oregonianspropertyowner.org. And that's kind of a good thing. That's a good thing that they're doing. It's funny with all this election stuff and all the legislature going on. I've been kind of missing what's been going on the federal level. And that's because I like most of the stuff that's been going on the federal level. I don't know if you've been checking it out, but yeah, I like most of the stuff that's been happening at the federal level. But there's a few things that have been happening that I'm not too happy about. And let's see if I can get that article here. I told you about the I already passed that. Let's see. Here it is. Here was something that really ticked me off. You know how we've been fighting against those wind turbines, and I'm a big supporter of President Trump, huge supporter of President Trump. But I'll tell you what, Trump could really seriously screw up my support for him, and a lot of people's support for him, if he backtracks on the wind turbines. And this article came out on May 20th. Says Trump allows New York offshore wind project after apparent gas pipeline compromise with the state. Now, this is kind of misleading, because if you read the article, and I'm going to go through it here, but if you read the article, and we're going to, you can see that there's actually really no compromise. The state is saying they're probably going to do the gas pipeline, even though they have regulations against it. But for some reason, the Trump administration is giving the okay for the offshore wind turbines. And I'm going to go into this article here. And here are the key points. It says Empire Wind 1 will be the first offshore wind project to deliver electricity directly to New York City. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum ordered construction of Empire Wind to stop on April 16th, despite the fact that it had been approved in 2024. New York Governor Kathy Hochul said the White House has agreed to allow the project to move forward. Burgum said he was encouraged Holcomb's willingness to move forward on natural gas pipeline capacity. So I'm not sure if there really was a deal here. They try to make it sound like that. Let me see if I can increase the size of this. There we go. Is that better? Let me make sure it's better for you guys. Okay, that's better. And so it says Norwegian energy company Equinor will resume construction on its offshore wind farm in New York after the Trump administration lifted its order to halt work on the project. Empire One will be the first offshore wind project to deliver electricity directly to New York City. The Interior Department under the Biden administration approved the project last year after Equinor signed a lease issued by the department in 2017. But Interior Secretary of State, Doug Burgum ordered construction on Empire Wind to stop on April 16th, alleging the Biden administration rushed the project's approval without sufficient analysis or consultation among the relevant agencies as relates to the potential effects. The stop work order has raised fears among investors that the White House might target other wind projects that had already been permitted or approved. New York Governor Kathy Hochul said Monday evening that Burgum and President Trump agreed to lift the stop work order and allow the project to move forward after countless conversations with Equinor and White House officials. Empire Wind supports 15,000 union jobs, Hochul said. Equinor said it aims to execute planned installation activities this year and minimize the impact of the stop work order to reach its goal of starting commercial operations in 2027. Now, here's the apparent natural gas compromise. It says Burgum said he was encouraged by Hochul's willingness to move forward on critical pipeline capacity. Not that she will, but her willingness. This is the weird part. It says Americans who live in New York and New England would see significant economic benefits and lower utility costs from increased access to reliable, affordable, clean American natural gas, the Interior Secretary said in a post on social media platform X. Hochul did not mention natural gas in her statement, though she reaffirmed that New York will work with the administration and private entities on new energy projects that meet the legal requirements under state law. New York has a history of opposing natural gas pipelines. Trump has targeted the wind energy despite his agenda calling for the U.S. to achieve energy dominance. The president issued an executive order on his first day in office that barred new leases for offshore in U.S. waters and ordered a review of leasing and permit policies. I don't know. Yep. This is really, really weird because they call it a compromise in the title, but yet when you read through it, it doesn't sound like there was really a compromise. It just sounds like the Trump administration said, yeah, we will do the wind turbine projects, and we're glad to see that you have a willingness there, Ms. Hochul, Governor Hochul, to actually work on a gas pipeline. I don't know. That doesn't sound like a very fair deal, but I'll tell you what, if President Trump starts to backpedal on these wind turbines and we get leases being sold off for the coast of Oregon, he's going to lose my support. I'll tell you what, I don't give a damn how well he's doing. He does that shit, he's going to have problems with me. I'm sorry, but I've liked a lot of things that Trump is doing. But he can wind turbines, they blow, okay? Or maybe they suck. I don't know. But Mr. President, please do not backtrack on this. You made a promise that you were going to get rid of these wind turbines and you weren't going to put up with it. And we thought we had 4 years at least of not having to worry about it. And then this happens. Politics sucks. So I'll tell you what, I don't know. I'm going to be really ticked off if Trump screws us on this deal. So I just had to tell that story. And that was one of my criticism of Trump, because I actually have another story where I'm not too happy with the administration, and neither is Ron Paul. In fact, I even had a video here that I wanted to play you about that big, beautiful bill. That big, beautiful bill really isn't so big and beautiful after all. And here's my problem with it. And it spends too much damn money, Mr. President. I thought we were conservatives, Mr. President. Well, I'll let Rand Paul tell you.
Who's got a question?
So what do you make of the House reconciliation bill that just passed? Can you tell us your thoughts, and would you be willing to support it unless there are changes?
The House bill is going to add about $4 trillion to the debt ceiling. The Senate bill adds $5 trillion. there's nothing fiscally conservative about expanding the debt ceiling more than we've ever done it before. This will be the greatest increase in the debt ceiling ever, and GOP owns this now. The deficit this year will be $2.2 trillion. The GOP owns that now too. But if you borrow $5 trillion and you have a $2.2 trillion deficit this year, it means you're anticipating a $2.8 trillion deficit next year. There's just nothing conservative about borrowing $2 trillion a year. People are lost in this. I'm like, how much are the cuts? 800 billion to 1.5 trillion. No, what matters is how much comes in and how much goes out. What is the net? Is it positive or negative? And borrowing this money just isn't fiscally conservative. I've told them I can support the package if they separate the debt ceiling off and have a separate vote on that. I want nothing to do with that. I didn't vote for the spending. I didn't vote for the debt. And I'm not voting to make it easier on people who want bigger government.
Senator, some of your House colleagues said the same thing, that they're not going to support the bill because it adds too much to the deficit, but then they ended up voting for it. Do you think the president could put pressure on you and others?
I'm not persuadable to go against the principles of conservative government. I was elected and told people I wanted to come up here to try to make things fiscally responsible to balance the budget. And I'm certainly not going to vote to send things the opposite way and borrow $5 trillion. I mean, it is astonishing to me that any fiscal conservative has gone along with this. They do it for like of President Trump. I like President Trump. I'm supportive of him on many, many things. In fact, I like the tax bill. I supported the tax bill in 2017. Still support it. Support making the taxes permanent. Support spending cuts. And would be persuaded to support even an imperfect bill, but I'm not voting to raise the debt ceiling $5 trillion because that's not fiscally responsible and that's not conservative.
So you don't vote for this thing?
So there you go. I agree with Senator Rand Paul, and I would vote no for that bill too. I don't care how well and the president wanted to package it. $5 trillion to the deficit, so we can add that to the debt. I'll pass. We're supposed to be cutting government, and there are a lot of things in there. They've got money for that Golden Dome. I like the Golden Dome idea. I supported it when Reagan was calling it Star Wars, the Star Wars program, and I supported it. When they were calling it the SSI program, they were running that at the Sandia Labs. I used to live right next to the Sandia Labs, and they would be shooting off those lasers and trying to hit little mirrors that were on satellites, trying to see how well they can use them against missiles. Yeah, really cool stuff. But if we can't afford it, we can't afford it. If we got to cut, we got to cut. And that means if it's stuff that conservatives like, too damn bad. We don't have the money, Mr. President. I know you have a lot of damn money in your pocket, but most of us don't. We just don't have the money. We can't be doing this to our country. We got to stop increasing the deficit, which is increasing the debt. We have $37 trillion in debt. We need to stop it. And I'm totally agree with Rand Paul. And I would push back on the president too. I would definitely not vote for it. And I don't care what price I had to pay. These are the values that people have to stand on. And I wish more local conservatives would learn that. And they're worried too, I won't get elected if I don't vote for this tax or if I don't put it on the ballot. I don't care. You're not there to get reelected. You're not there to have a career. You're there to do the bidding of the people. And if the people, we tell you, we support the Constitution. We support a limited government. That's what that document was all about. And the more taxes you take from us, the more freedom you take from us, Mr. President. I don't have any more freedom to give. I have nothing left to give to you. Any government, federal, state, local. I'm broke. Nobody's home. No mas. And so it just ticks me off, these Republicans, these so-called conservatives. Write a damn bill. And if you have to separate it out, separate it out. And, that way we get our tax cuts. That way we get the things we want. But a deficit? No, we need to stop. I can't afford it in my own house. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that we would love to purchase. We're not going to be able to. Why? Because we had to buy things like a roof last year. We had to get a roof last year. Oh no. We had to buy a work vehicle. Oh no. Nobody pays for that. Nobody buys that for us. No one buys it for our business. No one, when our cars break down and our our houses are need repair. We have to go to the doctor. Nobody pays for that except for us. And we're tired of people taking our money to pay for their stuff when our stuff isn't even getting covered. So, Mr. President, no more debt, no more taxes. Let's see, I got a comment over here. Alex, agree. I know. Just damn, stop spending our money. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed the show. I don't mean to beat up on old ground, talking about the Republican Party and our favorite senator and stuff, but it has to be told. It has to be pointed out. And, I try to relate it, the local, state, and federal, so that you can see that there is a pattern going on. We've got a captured party locally. We've got a captured party in the state of Oregon, and I'm talking about the Republicans. We have to do something about this, folks. We have to seriously take care of it. Before I get out of here, I want to talk about my favorite sponsors. 3H Tree Service. I think I even have a commercial here for him. Yes, I do. I do have a commercial here for him. 3H Tree Service for all those tree needs. You got tree needs, you got to have some of those trees taken out. They can do it at 3H Tree Service. They can do it with surgical precision. Come in there, take out those trees, and they'll leave, and it'll look like nobody was ever there. 3H Tree Service. That's right, 3H Tree Service. You can reach them at 541-294-1800, 3H Tree Service. And Matt, he's a licensed arborist. Yeah, you won't find that on a lot of tree service. They got guys who just cut trees. No, well, Matt, he's got that book learning down. He's got that book learning. He's an arborist. And he can take care of all those needs. 3H Tree Service, if you've got a tree that's a liability, the branches are about ready to fall in your neighbor's garage, these are the people they call. You need to call these folks. And if you want to see their expertise in action, go to 3H Tree Service on Facebook. They've got all kinds of videos, like the video I just showed you, of how they just go in there and take out these huge trees 90 feet in the air right over your house. They can take them out, remove them. It's amazing, mind-blowing. And we didn't do Where's 3H Tree Service today because it's Memorial Day. And those guys were off on Memorial Day. And I give them credit for that because they deserve it. They work really hard and they're good Americans, good patriots. I'm glad they took today off. But that means we didn't play any Where's 3H Tree Service, even though we have in the past gotten quite a few winners for Where's 3H Tree Service. And it's always fun to watch people win that money. I also like to remind everyone that Tim over at Tom and Gig, still one of my sponsors. We're going to have to give him on the show one of these days. I don't know where he's been lately. He's a very busy man. What can I say? It's a good thing. It's a good thing if you're in business and you're busy. If you're not busy and you're in business, you may have a problem. But if you want to go and take care of all your automotive needs, say you need shocks, you need struts, you need to get the car aligned, maybe you're going on a trip. You need to find out if the car is travel worthy. Is your car travel worthy? We'll take it over to Tom and Gigs and they can tell you whether it's travel worthy or not. And they're at 135 South Shoneman Street in Coos Bay in the Empire neighborhood, right behind the car wash. And if you know where the car wash is, then you know where Tom and Gigs is. They're right there behind the car wash. You can reach them at 541-888-4660. That's 541-888-4060. Tom and Gigs. And they got a lot of cool stuff over there. You'll love the toys. Look at all these RC cars. They've got RC cars for any kid. You can go over there and they've got like old style, like the old Broncos and Blazers and stuff. They got those old remote control cars just like that. It's really cool. Some of the stuff they have over there. Check this stuff out. And you can design your own. You can make it any way you want. They've got pieces and parts for all of these things, and you can get them all over at Tom and Gigs. Check that out. That's really badass. And they've got some planes. Yes, they got some remote control planes, a remote control helicopter, and they've got tannerite. I believe they're having a tannerite sale. So if you want to get some tannerite on sale, go on over to Tom and Gigs. Remember, you must be 18 years or older to purchase tannerite, and they will ask you for your ID. And another sponsor of mine, really great group of people, Herbal Choices. I don't know. I must have, last week, because we usually drink on the Friday show, and last week I had a cannabis drink. It was a soda infused with cannabis, and it was a really good drink. But I tell you what, I went back there to get another one, and they were all out. So I must have advertised the heck out of them. So good job out there. Herbal Choices for all your herbal needs. And remember, you have to be 21 years or older to go in the store. Yep, it's the rules, it's the law, and they're going to follow that law. And if you want to find out more about the Herbal Choices stores, you can go to the herbalchoices.com website, and they can tell you all about it. And they've got 5 different stores in the area. You got one in Charleston, one in Coos Bay, one in Bandon, one in Reedsport, and one in North Bend. My favorite dispensaries on the coast. And I also have to remind you, Oregon Firearms Federation, fighting for your Second Amendment rights for 30 years. Second Amendment rights is the top of the line for these folks. And Kevin Sterrett, the director of Oregon Firearms Federation, has done an incredible job of taking out a lot of these Oregon laws. And they're going to need help. This legislative session, they got a lot of crazy laws coming out, and Oregon Firearms Federation is going to be right there on the front lines to defend your Second Amendment rights. You need to go to OregonFirearms.org. That's OregonFirearms.org to find out more. They're not my sponsors, but I like to promote them because I think if you're going to own a firearm, you should know how to use one. So if you want to use and learn how to hone in your firearm skills, or you've got a shotgun, you want to go to a 5-stand trap, well, you can do that at the Bandon Gun Club. Find out more at the bandongunclub.org. They don't have a rifle range there, but they do have a rifle range at the Tioga Sports Park. So if you want to find out more about the Tioga Sports Park, go to tiogasportspark.org, and they can tell you about all the different events and activities they have going on out there. And they need some rangers. They need some park rangers to help them with the firearm training, which would be good. If you're a person who likes teaching other people your skills, this would be a good place to do it, especially if someone who's if you're a gun owner and you have skills and you want to pass that on to people who are eager to learn, this is a great place to go and teach the next generation of firearm owners. And of course, they're not my sponsors, but I am a member of the Coos County Neighborhood Watch. Credible group of people over there. There are people out on active patrol, patrolling your neighborhood. You may not even know it, but there are people out late at night patrolling your neighborhood. I know I go out on patrols every now and then, and I know people all over the county who are out there every night making sure that if there are crimes, hopefully we'll catch them and we'll be able to report them. And that's all we're doing. We're not vigilantes. We're not going out there hanging the poor homeless people. No, we don't do that. No, that's what the left thinks we do. They make up that bullshit. No, the Coos County Neighborhood Watch, we just report. We go out, we patrol and report on crimes and let the police know what's going on. And we let everyone else know what's going on. Great group every morning. Like I said, when I get up, I check out the Coos County Neighborhood Watch because I want to know what happened the night before. And these guys are always on top of it. It's really cool. Very cool place. And of course, this Wednesday, he's going to have another podcast. Chris Castleman from the Coos County Citizen Council. This Wednesday, I don't know what they'll be discussing, but he always has an incredibly interesting, very interesting show. And let's see, before I get out of here, I got a couple of comments. Alex says, thanks, Rob. Good show tonight. Thank you. Thank you for the comment. Rick Ziegler says, good show today. Wow. Thank you. No problem. And Steve Nye says, give me a call when you have a few minutes. Steve, I've got to run, but I'll give you a call. If not tonight, tomorrow, I'll give you a holler. definitely, I'll give you a call because I do want to talk to you. I think there's things going on. And that's funny. Steve just took his number out. That's funny. Yeah, I got it. No problem. And I'll give you a call. I got your phone number. Steve, you're just giving your phone number out to everyone. Yeah. Tell your wife it was all my fault. So I want to thank you all for joining me. God, that was a blast. Interesting stuff going on. We always enjoy it. I always enjoy sitting here and being able to inform people about things that are going on and you know what I always say, folks? Until next week. And I don't know if I'm going to do a rant this week. I don't know. Depends on if I have something to rant about, but I'll definitely be on next Monday. I'm planning on having a guest. I'm planning on talking about some international issues, international politics, geopolitical matters. I think I'm going to have Trevor Loudon on here next week. I'm going to try to get him on. I've been wanting him to get back on since Donald Trump has gotten into office. And he's one of the foremost experts on a government that's been captured. I think would be interested to talk to him about that. So until next week, folks, you know what I always say. Carry on, Coos County. Carry on.